Hello there. We will be talking about scaling up and few other topics from our basic entrepreneurship course. Here we've covered ideation. We've also covered a little bit of walking on our ideas and how we're going to build the teams and everything. Now we're going to cover here how do we build minimum value offering. Where do you find your first customer? Understanding the go to market. It actually begins with finding the first customer. We will also talk about go to market strategy as it unfolds in front of us. We will talk about different types of enterprises and how that helps. We will cover scaling in terms of organizing sales, and we will also look at how do you imagine your company in the future. Now, these are some of the companies that we're going to work with or look at as our examples. And you will see some annotations here: B2B product, B2B service, B2B, B2B to C, etc., etc. That kind of puts these companies into a certain classification that we will also talk about. Now, before we get in, I want to just leave one thought here with you. When you scale your business, many times founders, CEOs, or the management teams tend to extrapolate from where they are right now. I'm 10 crore right now, I want to go to 50 crore. And whatever your business model, your sales model, your organization model, you try to expand it uh, linearly. Sometimes that doesn't work. That doesn't work. You'll have to imagine the company that you're planning to build and then decide what would it take to go from where you are to that point. And it may require disruption, it may require jump. So we will cover that and some of the other things that I'm talking about here. I want to just give a little bit of an example to all of you. Last year, I started walking, north of marathon distance for my October 2nd walk. This happens to be October 1st because I had something else. I'd never walked 45 kilometers. I had never gone up to even 40 kilometers. Most of my walks are typically about up to 10 kilometers, and I decided to do a full marathon. Now, how will I do 45 kilometers when I'm used to walking not more than 10 kilometers? Is a good question to ask. Well, I ended up, walking 45 kilometers. My pace was pretty decent. It took about 6 hours, 7.5 hours at an average pace of uh, 6 kilometers, which is not bad for this one. And I walked right through the heat of afternoon in Pune and through the traffic. So sometimes you have to just mentally prepare yourself and work your way through. We will talk about that. Let me come back to very often people do not have a good idea of what is. They say sales is an art, sales is a science, it is combination of everything. All of this. So what is sale? How do you define? Very often founders or people with little or no sales experience, if somebody tells them that their product is good, they think they have a customer. It's a long way from first contact, and we're going to put a theoretical foundation to it and build, uh, what it takes to build a sales organization or sales machinery. So this is a definition I've come up with. Sales is the process that converts a defined opportunity into a purchase order or a signed contract for business. What is a defined opportunity? We will come to that in this class. We will also talk about, how do you create a defined opportunity. One way to look at it is a contact to contract. You meet someone, you meet a class friend, done a startup, and you meet your classmate after a few years, and you explain to him what you're doing, and he said, "Well, that looks interesting. In our company, we need something like that." Now, that's a contact. That's definitely a contact. Possibly a defined opportunity, but still not sure, though he or she is your friend. But from there to a contract where somebody decides to give you a purchase order or buy your product or service or sign a contract which is legally bound to engage into a business partnership is what I would call it as a sales. How do we classify selling? Let's look at some of these things now. Okay. It is important to understand, and please remember the three arrows that are coming up, that they are very, very crucial. What are you selling? to whom you are selling, and where are you selling. These three things are extremely important. When you say to whom are you selling it to a business? For example, SAP, it's an enterprise resource planning company, global leader in enterprise resource planning. Most of their customers are large enterprise, and they have everything from point of sales all the way to accounts and inventory, and that would be a B2B. They do not sell to people like you and me individually, they sell it to enterprises. Okay? And they have a packaged product. You buy SAP system, you install it, whether you pay on a continuum basis or you pay one time or whatever be the mode of payment, it's a product that you buy. Okay? What is Bata? Bata is also a product. Okay? Now you go to a Bata shop and buy a pair of shoes or slip-ons or socks or shoe polish or whatever, and or you order it online. All of this is to consumer. That is, they sell through those shops to consumer. And consumers are people like you and me who consume the product or services. In case of SAP, it was enterprise which consumes their product and services. Okay, Flipkart. What's a Flipkart? Is it a B2B2C? Yes, Flipkart has a set of vendors, and those vendors through Flipkart sell it to people like you and me. So that's again a B2B2C business. It's a marketplace in a way. Let's look at some service companies now. Amazon Web Services or Persistent Systems, that's a software IT services company out of Pune. Now these are service companies. Amazon is a marketplace, but Amazon Web Services is a service business. Let's see B2C direct. You go and open a bank account in a Cosmos Bank or an Indian bank. Cosmos Bank is a bank in Pune again. Indian bank. Now that becomes a B2C business. It's a service business. Okay. Now, product and service. Let's pick at SAP again. When you buy an enterprise buys SAP, it needs to put in a lot of effort to design the systems, design all the things, configure SAP. So SAP deployment is a non-trivial activity. And SAP has several IT services companies who specialize in deployment of SAP. Now you could go to SAP and ask them to do it, and they would have a consulting arm, just the way Cisco has a consulting arm or a services arm. So they will take their product and install it for you at a price. Now you have product and service both. It is very important to understand that many business morph into product and service both. People generally tend to divide it into A or B. It can also be A and B. It may start as product and then become a product and services. It may start as service, may become product and services. All kinds of morphs happen with businesses, and founders have to manage all of those things. What is a market? Now that's where you sell. That's where you sell anything. Market is where you go and buy and sell. What is a market? Is this a market? Yes, that's what, somebody like our grandmother, when you ask her, she will think of a vegetable market or she'll think of a shopping bazaar. Yes, that's a market. That's where you go buy and sell. It could be an online store. That could also be a market. This is a market too. You go to Flipkart and you buy goods and services. You go to Amazon, you do the same thing. So there are several places which are marketplaces. Market for us is a basket of customers or potential customers with similar requirements. That is very important. And it's only when you have organizations of people with similar requirement can you then build a solution, be it product or service, that all of them will find it relevant and meaningful. And that is very important to understand that there is a basket of potential customers. And I'm saying potential because they have not become customers so far. They are potential customers. And we talked about defined opportunity. We talked about a few things. So that's what we have to worry about. Market is a basket of potential customers with similar requirements. I want to stop here and share with you another a PowerPoint, other slide deck, and that will tell us the go-to-market. So we will cover go-to-market. What is the go-to-market strategy? What is go-to-market? How do you define it, and how do you start from the beginning, and how do you take it to the next level? It's a conceptual model, and we'll also talk about some of the key principles behind minimum value offering. Now let's recap. We talked about in the beginning, what are you selling, to whom you're selling, and where you're selling, and we said that's the marketplace where we sell. And we also talked about different classifications of business. When you sell it to an enterprise, that's B2B. If you sell it to a consumer directly, it's a B2C. If you sell a product, it's a product business. If you sell a service, it's a service business. If you sell to a business, that in turn sells to a consumer, that's B2B2C. And then we have various combination of a B2B product, B2B service, so on and so forth. That's what we just now covered. Go-to-market strategy, and we also mentioned that market is a basket of potential customers with similar requirements. Go-to-market strategy is to define what to sell, whom to sell, where to sell, and the mechanism of how to create awareness in the designated market. What is a designated market? It's a basket of potential customers with similar requirement. And we will talk about it, what this means. Okay. Now, before we think about go-to-market, we also have to think about what is our offering. Even if you are selling it to a friend of yours or someone in the family or somebody very close to you, you still need to have something to offer. And so these are some of the very broad guidelines for startups founders. When you're building your first offering, we call it minimum value offering because it's first time, is the minimum, and it has some core things that is good enough for that basket of customers. And nobody will buy it from you other than people who trust you as a founder. And these are also early adopters. That means they will see a product and service which is at an early stage, and they do not hesitate to buy that, knowing that it does not have all the features. Very, very important. Some customers are late adopters, so they will see if a product has entered the marketplace, is it getting the traction, are people buying it, or is your competitor buying it? I mean, there are large corporations who need different types of product and services, and they will see vendor enter the market, and they'll see how their other people are doing it, and from there, then they will decide. These are late adopters. Typically, founders would look for early adopters. Otherwise, it's a waste of your time and the potential customers' time. They're not even potential customers. Even if it is minimum value, it must work flawlessly and offer delightful quality. It's like saying, yeah, this app had only a few features, but it worked beautifully, and it was efficient, fast, nice to use. It doesn't have everything that I wanted, but whatever it had, I enjoyed it. That is the kind of delight a customer must have as a beginning. Deeper customer engagement is, are the current offering, when you are able to offer this, are the current offering in line with customers' expectation? It's very, very important. I also want to mention that sometimes you have to guide the customer towards those expectations. If it is an unknown area where your customer is trying for the first time, they may not know what they are looking for. And in that situation, it's like a totally new phone, which is split into 4 parts, and it has got a ear pod, and it has got a speaker, and it has got a small dial that's on your wristwatch. Now, this is not the phone that you're used to. Now, how do you make your customer expectations meet how do you meet those customer expectations with your minimum value product is very, very important. Since it's the first one, early stage, you want to get all the feedback from the customer for next round of features, and that's where the go-to-market becomes very, very important. Evangelization of new ideas and features is very important. Founders have that big responsibility in the early stage. Establish the timeline for next round of features. As we said, if your first minimum value product works nicely with limited feature and offers a delight in terms of quality, customers are going to ask you a few more things. And at that stage, you need to have defined timeline. Yes, these features we are working on, and in next 12 weeks or 6 months or next week, whatever is your timeline, you must be able to offer some of those features or a new model, whatever be your product and service. Fine tune the articulation of unique differentiators. Many times we have seen founders ramble a long list of features. That does not work. Customers lose you very, very quickly. Quick getting to what is your unique value proposition in few seconds. I would say not more than 5 to 6 seconds, and maybe one or two sentences. In fact, in our mentoring classes, we start with 30 words and a few seconds, and we try and boil it down to 5 words and 5 seconds. If you can get your differentiation across or your value proposition in that short time, then you've thought through a lot and created a real good articulation of what you're offering. You want to ask your early customer potential for people like them so that you can increase your basket of customers, and these would be similar people. These are early adopters, and because you are being referenced, you become a trusted partner and they become a trusted customer for you. It's very important to ask, do you know somebody else who will also need my product? And I'm happy to go to them. And as I have delighted you, I'm sure I will delight them also. I will not disappoint them. That's very, very important to ask your first customer, second customer, early customer reference for the next round of customers. It sometimes does not work for B2C products, because B2C product is a mass market sometimes, but you'll have to find some mechanisms to do that. And in the scale up, we'll see some of the slides on how to do that. Focus on time. If you're saying it's available end of the month, it must be end of the month. You must be clearly focused on the minimum value offering and not diverge from there, not get the attraction of trying to do too many things, because in that case you will fail on time, you will fail on quality, and it may not work completely, and it may just defeat the entire purpose. And as we have said, the differentiator is very, very important to understand that. Now, how do you build a go-to-market strategy? Let us see. Let's see our three arrows. What do you sell? To whom do you sell? And where's your market? Now, early stage would be very specific logos. If you're doing B2B, specific set of organizations that are early adopters is where you will choose them, that I want to go and sell it to A, B, and C. These are mine. Or there is a friend of mine who's a senior executive in a company, and that is your basket of customer has potential customer has just one entry. Similarly, first consumer set. You have a consumer product, so you now define what is your first consumer set. That's as good as your go-to-market 1.0. When you go to expand from there, you probably want to add more logos. You want to expand your consumer set by adding geographies, by expanding offerings, by having more salespeople. So expanded features, expanded geography. That I tried my first consumer set were in Mumbai around IIT Powai area, but now I'm going to go entire Mumbai, and maybe down the line I will cover Pune also, or something like that. So that is the expanding geographies. Or it could be we have covered Asia Pacific and now we're going to go to the Western market, United States. Depending upon what stage you are, it's very important to understand that. Expanded offering. You are a minimum offering, and somebody said, how about these things? Now you have added those features or those capabilities in your offering, and now you have an expanded offering. Maybe you have, dedicated salespeople. Founders were doing it. You were doing all of this work for selling your minimum value product. Now you have people who are dedicated to selling your product. That kind of your go-to-market. And you continue to do that. Expanded consumer set, more logos, more geographies, expanded offering, expanded sales team. You want to build partners, companies who will sell your product. You want to bring in marketing, because it's not good enough to focus on a few logos or a small consumer set. You want to look at entire marketplace. It is very, very important, and it continues to iterate itself through this. And when do you go from 1.2 to 2.20, 1.0 to 2.0 to 3.0? It all depends on the timeline that is DNA of your business. It could be 2 months, it could be 6 months, it could be 1 year. 1.0 could be a short 2 months, and then you go to 2.0. 1.0 could be short, maybe a few weeks, and then you go to 2.0. And 2.0 could last for like 6 to 9 months, 18 months, because you've got some funding to go with it. And then you go to 3.0, and that stays for a few more years, and so on and so forth. It doesn't end at 3.0. It just continues. It's an iterative, continuous process of go-to-market. Every time you do this, you are going from your go-to-market continuously evolves. You also retire products. I'm just saying you're adding more and more capabilities. Sometimes you have multiple basket of products selling to a large marketplace, and now you retire some products because they're no longer relevant, and you brought a new technology. Technology change, product change, requirement change. All of this means you will continue to retire some of the products, and you will continue to add the product set, and all of this becomes go to market, because every time you have something, you have to look at the market dynamics, you have to look at who the competition is, you have to look at what people are buying, you have to look at what they are asking for, you have to look at how your products are positioning. All of this is very, very important to build this go to market strategy. Now, here are some of the companies, and I'm going to leave this with you, and I'll come back to it when we talk about sales, how these companies have built their go-to-markets. For example, for Mojo Networks, it was entirely new market with wireless security sensors. And the step one was to build that. Step two, which came a few years later, was to add Wi-Fi to it. So not just sensors, but Wi-Fi access point became critical to it, and then it became cloud-centric. Round of channel partners to a point where large telecom became a way to do that. Barber shaving was started with a single product of the razor, and then expanded into whole shaving products, beard products, and then got onto online platforms like Amazon, Flipkart, and then online as well as offline, and then selling to enterprise, to their employees, to their customers. So the company has grown from single product, digitally native, to covering almost entire gamut of B2B, B2C on the product side. Indigo Paints, very, very big. They started selling, they went from towns to metros, better channels, minimum sales attrition they had, and now they have Mahendra Singh Dhoni as a branding consultant. So step two and beyond was just scaling up the company. They have scaled up 3 to 4 times in last 2 years. Persistent System is a service company, and it started as a software product engineering, started working with technology companies, startups, to build products for them. And today it has digital platform solutions. They continue to do software product engineering, but it has become a wholesome IT services company. Quality Kiosks, another IT services company, started with product testing, chatbot user experience, and focusing on financial markets in Asia. And now they are looking at global market, all geographies, but a very specific vertical. Early Salary, which is loan in lieu of salary, instant disbursement, and digital branding. That's what they did. And now it's a diversified portfolio. So companies expand geographically, companies expand in terms of portfolio, companies expand in terms of product and services, channels. All of this happens over a lifetime of a company. If Mojo Networks took 6-7 years to go from Wi-Fi sensors to Wi-Fi access point, Barber Shaving took not more than a year to add beard products into their portfolio. So it all depends on the company, your startup, what's your timeline, what's your DNA, and how fast are you going to iterate your go-to-market strategy to go from 1.0 to 2.0 and beyond. All of this defines, your foundation for sales, which is what we will talk about in the next session. Okay, again, coming to what these are, the companies on the bottom half are B2B service companies, B2C service companies, and companies on top are typically product companies. We will come back to these. Some of these codes are very, very important when we look at the scale up. So recapping, go to market, expanding the customer base, additional geography, changing the product mix into new products, withdrawing a product, introduce a freeware, introducing partners to sell your product, white labeling of your product for large global brand, global customer, global vendors, global brands who will sell it under their brand, but the technology or the solution comes from you. You will rebrand it. You may introduce a brand ambassador like Indigo Paints do. You may bring in a totally new CEO to build your company. You may have a new head of sales. All of this is part of the go-to-market, one with directly or indirectly. That's what you're telling the market of your go-to-market strategy. Okay? Again, pricing is very important. Product management is very important. And differentiator for every startup, besides what you have in your product, speed and innovations are very, very critical to all startups. And that's how you gain foothold in a market as a totally new company. Okay? Founder's role, very, very important. You have to imagine the future, as I said, build a narrative, work towards creating a market. If it's new, evangelize the offering. Very often you don't sell, you make them buy. You communicate constantly to the customers in the market. You create your first go-to-market strategy and you evolve the strategy. You build the teams as we had talked about in a previous session. And very, very important, you hire someone to run your business if that is what is needed to scale up. Okay, we will come back to some of these things. You will understand the meaning of these arrows. You can see that it's a multicolored arrow, means early stage founders do pretty much everything, but then as the business grows, they put their go-to-market. It has to go from strategy to marketing to sales to business. All of these have to be organized for scale up. Okay? Founders need to ensure sufficient funds and team for scale up of the business that they have founded.